Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show, the second hour. Of course, we're going to carry over this discussion about Cori Bush and her loss. I'm not going to call it her defeat because she wasn't defeated. She lost a race yesterday. We're going to talk about that here on AM 950 Radio. AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It's a joy to be with you today. And please go to the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, and like and subscribe so that you can hear and see what we put up there for you. And I want you to go to the Santita Jackson and Friends page, the Santita Jackson and Friends page. That's the only page where I can accept friends. And I want you to be my friend. I want to be yours. I want to be yours. So please, everybody, when you request a friendship, don't go to Santita Jackson. Go to Santita Jackson and Friends. And then I'm on Twitter at Santita J, at Santita J. So please, please, please get on over there. We've got a lot to talk about. There's a lot to unpack. When we were coming off the air, we were all waiting to find out who, not just who the vice president was going to pick. Okay, we found that out. But then we wanted to see him. Like, who is he? What is he going to be like? And we found out. And what an exciting choice, at least for where I am. I just thought it was really great. And yet many people are still now asking if she made the right decision. I've not seen anything like this. Now the question is, did she make the right decision? Because we saw Josh Shapiro yesterday. Everybody, a speech does not a candidate make. Well, of course, an argument can be made to counter that, but there were many, many different factors that she had to put in. And yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, I wonder, just questioning her judgment, if she loses Pennsylvania, it will not be because of Josh Shapiro. No. That's why I keep trying to say to you, um, I keep trying to tell you that really we are looking at this is number one, these decisions are not made alone. And there are a lot of currents here, including Trump. Because while we have all this celebration about Kamala Harris, I think we should be excited about this moment. Don't underestimate Trump's strengths. Please don't. If you underestimate his strengths, we're not going to engage in voter registration. You're not going to ask the questions of the vice president and her selection, Governor Walz, that can make them stronger, that can make them sharper in debates and on the campaign trail. Don't ever get away from that. And let me tell you something. We're living in a very interesting time, Attorney Mark Fancher, National Conference of Black Lawyers. We're told to trust the science, but don't ask questions. Science is based upon questions. Questions become hypotheses. Hypotheses get tested, and then after the test, you get a theory. And you try to come up with medicines or practices that can help to resolve the great questions of the day. But every scientist asks questions, and yet we're not supposed to. We're supposed to believe in free speech, and yet we want to shut that down. I don't understand that. And the Democrats are doing that more than anybody, or as much as anyone. And so when I go after Democrats, it's because I am one. There's no need in me going after somebody else's house. This is the house I live in. The house I live in. And oh, bless your heart. Trump train wreck. I mean, look, I think you need to talk to all candidates. You need to find out what their plan is or what their plans are. If you don't talk to everybody, shame on you, because we will be the only group who don't do that, Mark. Everybody else is on good terms with everybody. Everybody. It is in politics, it is about addition, not subtraction. You're always trying to find out who is you're always trying to find some kind of common ground. You're always trying cut some kind of deal, not compromise your principles, but you're trying to get legislation through. You're trying to get things done, which means you need everybody. So don't be. We, as Reverend Jackson has often said, Mark Fancher, we were in slavery longer than we've been free. So politics is not something that we really, and power is not something we really understand from this space. We really don't know how this works. We really don't. And it kind of works like this. Everybody talks to each other. If you think Nancy Pelosi does not have a collegial relationship with Mitch McConnell, you are out of your mind. I mean, Chuck Schumer, he doesn't look at Mitch McConnell and roll his eyes. They go back and talk. I mean, nothing was more iconic than watching Senator Ted Kennedy from more than a generation ago and Senator Orrin Hatch, the liberal titan of American politics, Ted Kennedy, and the conservative icon on the right, Orrin Hatch. They were best friends. And when he saw when Orrin Hatch saw Ted Kennedy going through some personal struggles, really wrestling with his demons, this man had lost several of his siblings. I mean, just so much that he had endured. He went to him as a friend and said, hey, and didn't make it public. Let me pray with you. Let me work with you, because Ted, you're going off the rails here and I'm worried about you, man. And you can be someone's political opposite, Mark Fancher, and you can become their real dear friend, and they can become your friend. And I'm always looking for common ground with people. I'm not looking to get to move my principles out the way, but we got to find a way to live together. We got to find a way to right this ship of state, to make this thing work. So I've got Josh Feinstein. I can't believe you're joining us this morning. Hey, Mr. Detroit, sending you so much love. But let me start with, well, I guess I'm surrounded by Michiganders today. All right. Because you all just had a primary.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, you want to start us off, Josh? What happened up there?
Yeah. I think it was a good night in many ways. In many ways, it's a night with a lot of lessons learned. There's a lot of veterans in our camp, but there's a lot of us who are frankly new to this. We've all been volunteers for years, for decades. But really, it was being volunteers and being hands-on is different from, we took it up a notch after October. And people who never considered running for office said, yes, I'm going to run for office, which is wonderful. Ahmed Ghanem, Layla Taha, Rima Muhammad, Dylan was already in, Tyler was already in. But I think about all these different folks that ran, did very well. But we learned a lot of lessons last night. Mm-hmm. We have work to do. That's what I learned last night. I'm very proud of what everyone accomplished, especially I look at the Ahmed Ghanem camp where they went up against Haley Stevens and, her, I think, $20 or $25 million of AIPAC money. And, Ahmed Ghanem had managed to raise 90 or 100,000, and they got 11,000 votes, which is, every vote was very hard earned by blood, sweat, and tears. So this morning, if my voice sounds like, lost my voice, honestly, a little heartbreaking, the Mary Waters race, seeing Mary, there's even moments last night where we were ahead and we thought Mary Waters is going to Congress, to represent us in the 13th district. So it seems like I'm meandering. I'm trying to give a debrief on last night, but the bottom line is we did well. We showed up, we put in the work, but there's a lot of lessons that we have to learn about, how politics works, to be frank.
I think you have to redefine winning too.
Yes.
Because winning doesn't mean you seize the office. That's one of the things that I learned from Reverend. Winning is, I remember him saying when we were in Atlanta, he said, I might not get to the White House, but you won't deny my children. And he wasn't speaking of the five of us. He was speaking of Harold Ford Jr., who was in the room, who went to school with my brother. He's like a baby brother to me. He was speaking of another generation. He said, you won't deny them. And there it was. But nobody looks back at his campaigns as losing propositions, Mark Fancher. I mean, you don't even, I mean, even the people who attacked him don't want to own up to it now.
Well
I mean,
said.
and the same people who came after Nina Turner and Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman, that same element came after Reverend. They did. And it was on the same issue. But it was also on another issue. Really, it's about representation. And, I mean, because I'm not trying to blame any community,
No,
but
you're spot on, Santita. When I arrived at Ahmed Ghanem's campaign watch party, said, when I arrived, Ahmed came to say, "Would you get up and say a few words?" And that's exactly what I told to the crowd: is that
Mhm.
you have already won. You've already won by just being here and showing up and putting in the work. I turned to his campaign manager and I said, "How long have you been at this game?" And he said, "Honestly, about 6 weeks." I said, "Imagine what you'll be like in 6 months, in 6 years." And it was wonderful to hear him say that. He was Mike Flores. He's going to be an up and comer. He really. That's the things. There's the Mike Flores and the Rebecca Islams. There's people that are connecting from different communities throughout this and coming up, and they're smart and they're
Mhm.
hardworking and they understand. It's just a matter of we need more experience. That's
But
all.
you have to get out here and do it. And you can't
Yeah.
stop with one race. I know Hill Harper feels that way. Cori
Yes.
Bush said, all you did was unleash me. That's all
Yes.
she said.
Yes.
She said, oh, y'all, now I'm free. Now I can now
Yes.
say what I need. I'm going to say what needs to be said. All these people who stood with her. I mean,
Yes.
she's speaking for them and many, many more. So that you already won. You won by number one. These folks pulled you into public life.
Yes.
That's the
Yes.
only way that the American project works. You got to
Yes.
get in it, and if we're going to win it. So you won. So now you're like, oh, now the next time what we're going to do is, and okay, and then the next
Yes.
time after that, okay, this is how you register the people. And so, so I mean, I just want you to know. Oh, Tracy wants you to move to Africa first. Oh, please, come on, Tracy. You sound like the white racist from the South, uh, 50, 60 years ago, and other people come to us. I mean, because in America, you have the right to express your opinions, and you have the obligation. Indeed, Teddy Roosevelt said that dissent is the highest form of patriotism. You can't let something be wrong or see something with which you disagree and be muted. And that's why I told you, if you want to come here and be a part of this Morningstar family, don't attack anybody. Don't do that. We're not here. He has a right to be anti-establishment, an establishment that enslaved Black people, that denied women the right to vote, that turned Jews away from the Statue of Liberty when they were seeking refuge and sent them right back to the Holocaust. Is that the establishment you want to save?
The
No, no,
beauty of
no.
your
It's been a constant turning because we don't want to be slaveholders like we were 2, 3, 400 years ago. We don't want an apartheid America like we had 100. Well, just a few minutes ago, we still got it in some places because Chicago is the most segregated city, one of the most segregated cities in the country. So just stop that. You don't
what
need to
keeps
attack anybody.
what keeps me coming back to this show is Mark and I don't agree on so many things, but Mark is articulate, he's rational, and he's reasonable. So where else can you go where people are not going to agree on a content, but actually have the discourse and the conversation discuss? So, Mark, I'm blessed that you're here.
Oh no, no, I thank you for that, and I think that those statements are for the benefit of the broader audience. Whoever this
Mhm.
person is actually a CIA agent or someone who's sent in to just create confusion. And if she's not, then she's a fool because she's doing the work of the CIA and not even getting paid for it. So we have to remember who we're dealing with and why these things happen.
I mean, and no, I didn't say I'm not Reverend Jackson. I don't need to be Tracy. I don't want to be that. I didn't want to. I wasn't born in 1941. I didn't grow up in the apartheid South. I actually grew up with my father and mother. Neither of them ever spent a night under the same roof as their mother and father. Not one of them. That is not a life that I live. So no, I'm not going to be them. I'm I'm a generation out. But all I'm asking you to do is that if you come here, and this is the last time I'm going to address you because you're taking up too much space here, and you are doing it, as Mark said, I recognize intelligence when they come after us. And I said, wow, we must be doing something right because I got approached about letters that the station is beginning to get about what I'm saying, uh, Ariel. Excuse me. And, you're not sufficiently supportive of the Democratic ticket. Oh, I am supportive. I'm as supportive as Dr. King was of LBJ. He didn't let LBJ get away with anything. Ariel, Fellowship of Reconciliation, Jews and Allies,
That's
Joshua Feinstein, Mark Fancher, Attorney Mark Fancher from the National Conference of Black Lawyers. They kept pushing. They engaged in critique. But what they did not do was tear people down.
we knew we were doing something right in Mary's campaign when the opposition spent $2.5 million on attack ads. That's when Mary came. She said, they're saying such awful, untrue things. I said, yes, but it means we've got their attention. So
Absolutely.
sometimes you get people's attention. That's the way it goes. How about
Absolutely.
Waltz?
Well,
How
you know
about
what?
Waltz?
I mean, you know
How about
what?
Waltz? We
I
discuss
want to do
Waltz.
Waltz. I want to do Waltz, and I also want to do Cori Bush. But let's start with Waltz because what's interesting about Waltz, and let's let you start this off, Josh. Well, no, let me start with Ariel. Oh, cha cha cha. Let me start with Ariel because what's interesting, and I want you and Attorney Fancher and Ariel Gold to look at this. I mean, I thought Josh Feinstein. I thought Josh Shapiro was fantastic yesterday. He was. He gave a great speech. Now,
Yep.
one of the things that Roots Action made me do was investigate him and Governor Bashir and Mark Kelly and Tim Walz. They made me look at who was before us. And so for that, I'm grateful. And when I saw different things about different candidates that they were up, down, but when I saw some things, when I did deeper dives on them, I said, "Oh, wow, Josh Shapiro is a little problematic. He's okay. So this is what Norman Solomon and Jeff Cohen and Seth and Sam and all my people are seeing something that's making me go, whoa, hold on. No, I don't think he should be the standard bearer here." And everybody's making it about they're trying to make Kamala, who's married to a Jewish guy, for heaven's sake, who's very supportive of Israel. They're trying to make her an anti-Semite. I'm like, this woman, number one, she can't make this decision by herself. The system is not even made that way, everybody. But what she did was that the team got together, and ultimately, I think it was something she checked off on. But when you hire someone to work with you, Ariel, it's a feel, right? You have to I mean, it's so many pieces, but look, they made note of the fact that the audience, they had a lot of Black people in it. Black folks love good preaching. I don't care if it comes from the Old or the New Testament. Please. I mean, I don't care if it comes from the Quran. If you can preach, give us the word of God. We are very, very, very happy. And so he was very, I think, very smart in putting his religion out there. But the religion is not the issue, Josh Shapiro. It's a lot of other things. It's statements that he's made from which he's not evolved. And this is a different world than it was 30 years ago, Ariel.
That's right.
People are in a different space on. We still want Israeli justice, but Israeli security, but now we want Palestinian justice in a way that we never have before. School vouchers, when American students are globally not, we are losing our competitive edge while we're gutting the public school system. And his policies help to reinforce that.
Right.
So it's like, wait, there's a whole lot. I mean, I love his rhetoric, but the reality of him, I mean, going after these students, criminalizing them, these college students, I mean, Ariel, But Tim Walz, football coach, who said, okay, I'm the guy. Yeah. I used to teach in school, and yeah, I did sign legislation that will not allow any child to go hungry in Minnesota. You want to come for me on that? Please. I got you. Now, I can sign on to that, Ariel.
That's right.
What did you make of just because yesterday was a spectacle? But you know, I learned a lot, I think.
Well, that was a shameful display of false accusations of anti-Semitism. And I just want to say that when such bad faith false accusations of anti-Semitism are made, it endangers the Jewish community, because it makes it impossible to tell when there is real anti-Semitism. And there is real anti-Semitism now, and it's actually on the rise, and it does take place on the left as well. And it feeds white supremacy. And so when we have these just absurd claims here, you know, the push for Walz, it had nothing to do with Josh Shapiro being Jewish, just nothing to do with it at all. It had to do with policy. And I credit so much hard work for so many years from the Bernie Sanders campaigns, right? To get back to working people policies. And you know, those false claims of anti-Semitism kept saying that Walz and Shapiro, there was no difference in their policies towards Israel. It wasn't totally untrue policy-wise, but there was difference. And exactly, it was a little untrue, but policy-wise, maybe you could make that claim. You could still dispute it a little bit, but tone and rhetoric and empathy were a marked difference, some of the same difference that we have between President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. Mm-hmm. And in terms of progressive policies, and it is anti-Semitic to suggest that Jews are single issue voters on Israel, that's all we want is a Jewish candidate who supports Israel. And in fact, it's blatantly untrue historically and currently. Jews don't vote on foreign policy. American Jews largely vote on domestic issues, and we are longtime Democratic voters. So this idea that that's the only issue that we would be looking for in a candidate, Walz has shown his ability to progress, literally to progress through the ages in his policies, to listen to the people, to see where where reform is needed, and to feed the hungry. Walz, I saw the GOP was trying to attack him last night as the tampon Veep, because he also ensured free tampons in all school of all gender bathrooms, to ensure that whatever gender a student may be, they have access to menstrual supplies. These are progressive policies that this is an exciting time. And I will say I was very happy to hear Nancy Pelosi, of all people, just not take any garbage. She said this has nothing to do with anti-Semitism. And same with Kamala's campaign. So I was very happy to see that. And I loved Shapiro's speech. And I wish for Shapiro to progress. He's actually young in his young in his political career, and there's plenty of time for him to progress, including on Israel and Palestine. And he's a great speaker and a great politician, and I thought he had incredible grace last night, as we should be looking for, and full steam ahead.
Look, I'm hearing you, because that was my thing. I was like, it was so clear to me that everything had aligned for him. And number one, he showed remarkable grace, because I think it was just in the last minute, knowing how these things go, they told him this is a no-go. And I know it was heartbreaking for him. I mean, just as a human being, I would not have supported him being vice president. I would not have been happy about it. Let me put it that way. But I can only imagine how he felt. But, he took it on the chin. I've seen Reverend do that, and he's supporting the ticket. And he could be the best surrogate they've got.
That's right. And I'm trying to think, in recent history, vice presidents, you don't want them to outshine the top of the ticket. And with Shapiro, there's an element of that.
An element. Girl, he's a superstar.
Absolutely.
For real?
And
Come
now
on
is not his time that way. And she needs a coach, right? Just that look. And
You're
boy,
right.
can he talk as well. Just the two of them next to each other. She needs a supportive coach. And that's what she got. She's got a football coach and a political coach. And he's a funny guy. He's America's dad. And that's exactly the right vibe for her to have as a running mate. And Shapiro would not be. This is not the moment for that.
And you can see their staffs clashing because Shapiro is younger than she is. And quite frankly, maybe a little sharper politically, just as a politician, as these things go, right?
Maybe.
And I mean, I'm not, I mean, I think she's crafty, no question, but she's tough now. She wouldn't be there if she were not. But, the thing is that it is what it is. It is what it is. But every one of these corporate programs, they've all devoted a segment to why didn't she choose Shapiro, and a segment to they've lamented the fact, and they're all dancing around the edges of anti-Semitism. And what bothers me about that, like you said, is wait a minute, anti-Semitism, anti-Black racism, this stuff is real. And when you cry wolf, when you misapply it, then it becomes a problem. No, this is not paternalistic mixed capital media. She does need a political coach. And when I say everyone needs someone who is their booster, everyone needs someone who sees what they do not see. Argument can be made that any great politician does not need, no. And I shoot that argument down every time because you have to have a team. You can't do this by yourself. There will be some days when she will feel like, I don't want to leave my bedroom. And he'll be the person who'll say, you know what? It's okay. He is that white guy who will say, you know what? I know this. I know the culture. I know these people. Don't let them get you down. Keep on going, girl. She needs that. And we can all learn something from somebody. You never want to be the smartest person in the room, Mark Fancher. If you're the smartest person in the room, eventually you will be the dumbest because you will learn nothing. And information is flowing all the time. Mark Fancher, what do you make of this? I mean, wherever you land, I'm good with it. I want to hear what your thoughts are.
Well, some of the people writing in don't, but be that as it may.
No,
yeah, I think that
let me say this again for everybody. This is a platform. The airwaves are supposed to be free. Let us not get to a space where we start shutting people down. Don't do that. Eventually, you'll get shut down because you're going to say something with which somebody disagrees. You'll be on the unpopular side. Don't do that. Listen and learn. Maybe you need to ask Mark about his background, how he got to where he is. That's why I continue to ask Josh, how'd you get here from where you were? Ariel, how'd you get here from where you were? Because we're all on a journey. And I'm just curious. You know how you grow up in a household that is ardently, would you call it Zionist, Josh? And then you got here. That's a journey. And it's a journey. We're all going to be on some kind of journey, everybody.
And still close to the people in my life who are Zionists, and
same here.
And they're still your beloveds.
Yes.
I'm not about to lose a relationship, quite frankly.
And Zionism's not a permanent state of being. My own family are moving rapidly on the issue of Israel, and I'll tell you, I fight back anytime I hear somebody say of Kamala's husband, "Oh, he's a Zionist," like it's a permanent state of being. That's just not true. I think that it's to our advantage that he's Jewish. I think we are what we are. I not just think, I know we are watching a massive shift in Jewish American public opinion. It's coming from the youth, but it goes all the way up. It's going through my family, and it's a joy to watch.
Well, you know what, and you're seeing a massive shift in the American culture on a whole lot of things, and in the world, period. So anytime Maduro is telling people, this is my seat, and he's not stealing it. Our intelligence services are trying to take it from him so they can deliver Venezuela and their oil to our oil companies. That's what's happening, y'all. It's very real. Stop. Mark, you got the floor, honey. Take it away. Let me just sip my tea.
Okay.
I need my mug. Where is it? Okay.
No, I think that there are a lot of lessons that can be learned from the last couple of days if we choose to learn them. And I have some doubts about whether we will. I think that the selection of Walz had, and I think most people agree, it had a lot to do with consideration and concern about events in Gaza. And all things related to it, and what the perceptions of the voters would be, and all of that. I don't think that that would have been a factor, or it would have been a concern necessarily, or as much of a concern, if preceding all of that, there had not been mass movement on that issue. If there had not been an uncommitted campaign, if there had not been encampments, if there had not been all kinds of agitation, if there had not been the pushback by the state against people who were advocating Palestinian rights, if all of that had not been present, I'm not so sure that it would have been as much of a factor as it was. And the lesson in that, to me, is that the focus on personalities and individuals and candidates, I think, is very often overemphasized. The focus, in my view, if you really want to accomplish change, is always on the power of the masses of the people. And I think that that's been demonstrated through history, not just this most recent history, but all great changes in this country, if not the world, have been the result of the masses organized and in movement. So the civil rights legislation would not have happened but for a mass civil rights movement. The war in Vietnam would not have come to a conclusion in the way that it did if there had not been a mass movement. And so what the people are saying, the pressure that's put on the machinery of state by the masses of people, is what produces results. And so I think that intuitively people sort of get that. But where I think that people go wrong is in believing that once the movement has caused the machinery of state to respond, that their job is done. We have made them respond to us, and therefore we can relax because we live in a democracy and we've elected these people to carry out the charge that we have given them, and therefore we're done. When in fact we're never done. And in fact, from my perspective, our vision is not broad enough. Very often the vision on a mass level is simply of trying to get individuals elected to office who say that they're going to carry out whatever the will of the people is. Once a person is elected to office, certainly on a national level, their responsibility becomes, whether they know it or not, if they don't know it, they learn it quickly, that their responsibility is not to carry out the will of the people, but to carry out the will of the people and the forces that really have power in this world. They're given an agenda. And so the vision has to be broader than just getting the right people into office. It has to be dislodging and removing from those who currently have the real power, taking their power away and putting it in the hands of the people in a real way. That means systemic change. That means revolution. That means a lot of things that we don't generally consider. And so that does not necessarily mean that we spend a lot of time, that we don't spend time or invest our time in working the machinery of state and participating in elections and all of that. But it does mean disengaging emotionally from that process and from that system, not believing that based on what happens within the confines of the electoral process, that what is important is pursuing without compromise and being undeterred in the pursuit of principle, in pursuit of basic and fundamental morality, trying to bring about those things that are necessary for humanity to live in the way that God wants us to live, regardless of what the political system or the process tells us, whatever the results may be. And if that's the focus, then by necessity, government falls into place and falls into line. When it realizes that the masses of people have their own program, their own agenda, which is inconsistent or in conflict with those who do control things right now, then in order for it to survive, then the government, the state itself has to fall into line with what the people want. It either has to do that or it gets crushed and destroyed. And I think that the people have to be prepared to destroy it. If in fact what's necessary for humanity to live as we're supposed to live, if that's not happening. And I think we confine ourselves too often. And finally, I'll say this: while I think that the people's movement accounts in many ways for the vice presidential pick, I also think, and it's a matter of informed speculation, that on some level, the imperialists, the oligarchy, those who really run the world, I think that part of their new program is to begin a slow disengagement and ultimately a divorce from the state of Israel. I think that the state of Israel has played an important role for them since 1948. But I think that the brand has become tarnished to the point that now they find it to be counterproductive to their efforts to control the world. When you say that you are walking lockstep with a state that much of the world believes, is run by war criminals, and they have the blood of more than 250,000 children on their hands, it becomes harder to go into various parts of the world and to conduct business in the way that they want to conduct it, to sweet talk and charm their way into areas where that's necessary in order for them to get access to what they want to have access to. And so I think that's a part of it too, that, on the one hand, they are not ready to completely pull the plug because there is unfinished business in Gaza and other things that they need the Israeli state to continue to perform. But on the other hand, they do feel that they need to start backing away and finding other connections, other allies, other partners in the Middle East that will be able to play the same role that Israel has played for them, but which does not enjoy that same bad reputation that the state of Israel does now. And I think that we have to be aware of these kinds of factors that come into play when we see these things happen on a domestic level. I don't think that we do a full and complete analysis of how and why things happen all the time. And I think that once we begin to do that, then I think the masses of people become much more formidable and much more likely to accomplish the things that I think all of us want to accomplish.
Now you were nodding vigorously in assent, you and then Josh, Ariel. What is it? Because Dwight McKee, and everyone, please give Dwight your love and your prayers. He's in the hospital today. You've been asking about him. And he's been struggling with some profound health issues for many years. And oftentimes when he gets on here, he's either on his way to the hospital or he's just gotten out. But because he loves us so, he will make the sacrifice and be here with us. So that's why oftentimes he's not on camera. So please keep him in your prayers. And yes, Ariel and Josh, I will give you the number because you all are, the usual suspects. We're
Please do, yes. Please
and
do.
I know.
I want it too.
Of course, I'm gonna send it to you, but I've got to email you because I can't send you a text. But I'm gonna send that just so that you can call And because I know it will mean a lot because he's in the hospital today, but he's doing quite well. But we had to get, Dwight's stubborn. We had to get him to the right hospital. And so you all have been asking, so I wanted to address
Please
that.
do.
Tennessee State Representative GAGQ Hardaway. Well, I had to do that. They look at that. I mean, look at him just doing all his thing. Even your buttons match your bow tie, man. But Ariel, I mentioned Dwight also because he said something very similar to Mark, and I think you all are in agreement. He said, when you are no longer useful to us for our purposes, we let people go. He said, and I don't think that they understand that they're perilously close to America cutting ties as America tries to save herself, right, on this world stage. Plus, now you see, we just had a state dinner for who? For Kenya. The next frontier is Africa. They're trying to pull them in. So what about what Mark said resonated with you, Ariel?
Well, let me say that I worry about Israelis. I am not one who will applaud the total pulling of caretaking. I guess we could say it's the United States that's keeping Israel afloat, and that's because I think they've got some really hard times to come ahead, and I worry. I worry for my people. Right?
Mm-hmm.
These are largely my people, and it's as I refer to it, a broken society right now. There are a few, there's a little bit of a few people trying to pull that society back from, I don't want to say over the edge, because it's very much already gone over the edge. But the cutoff from the U.S. is coming, and
you really think it's coming?
I do really think it's coming. I do really think it's coming, and I hope and I pray frequently that there's time for some transformation in Israeli society, some bit of turn, away from the far right. And there's a little bit that gives me hope, I should say, that there's a bright young man, Itmar Greenberg, who is just today headed to Israeli prison for refusing his conscription to the Israeli military. And going to prison is a choice. There are ways to get out of service, to simply avoid it, but he's going to prison. And though that's the little bit of light that I see, and that kind of solidarity, which is not just with the Palestinian people, but also how to save Israeli society. So, I think this is coming, and I think we see it in the campaign right now of Harris Walz, and this is the time for it, because also I don't know about everybody else here, but I have the news on constantly, just waiting for possible World War III, and hoping and praying that it goes off in a coordinated way, like it did in April, and doesn't turn into a massive Middle East war, which it so easily can.
Well, and that is what is so painful, because it would not be gentle; it would be hostile, and then there would be blaming in the United States and around the world of the Jewish community, and that is not something we need and want. It is not what we want. So when you try to tell people, you're going down the wrong way. Because I remember my father used to take attacks from the Jewish community on a regular. You know that, Ariel. You know that, Josh. But he said, look, I'm trying to offer you a path, because I know where these people are going, because I grew up here. I grew up in the apartheid South. I know these folks can turn.
Yeah.
Because things turn. But, I've got Tennessee State Representative G.A. Hardaway. He said, wait a minute, I want in. And we only have about 15 minutes. Well, actually, I have about 10 minutes left. But I want to hear from you, because we've been talking about, really, we didn't even get to Cori Bush. We'll do that tomorrow. Ariel, Josh. So, because I want us to break that down too. And Sam Rosenthal from Roots Action said, he sent me a text. He said he's going to be here. Yay, love him. And but what did you make of yesterday? I mean, because the vice president is taking some incoming fire on her choice, is saying, particularly after we heard that stem winder of a speech from Josh Shapiro. You were like, I knew he was gonna swing for the fences. I know he was gonna knock that ball out the park. I knew it because this was also his opportunity. And so, but Tim Walz came on and you said, oh, okay. Yeah, she didn't make a mistake. But they're questioning her all day. If you look at the morning news shows, Tennessee State Representative G.A. Hardaway. And, let's be clear, you all, to show you how politics moves. 4 weeks ago, we were despondent. Just think about it. We were like, this is awful. And now it's a whole new day. Tennessee State Representative, what did you make of yesterday?
Oh, I was impressed, but I wasn't impressed because Tim Walz was impressive. But I think more so because he seemed to know his role right out of the box, that his job is to complement and supplement, to complement the strengths that the vice president and the Democratic nominee for president, Kamala Harris, has. Her strengths need to be demonstrated, shown to the world, and supplementing what few deficiencies she may have, especially in messaging to what seems to be his strength, that rural area, kind of not the good old boys in the literal sense, but the good old boys in a better sense than I've used it in the past. So I'm impressed with her selection. We couldn't have gone wrong, no matter what. But at the end of the day, it's about count your votes. It's about how do you message in order to inspire turnout. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of folks left for persuading to go one way or the other. There's that small group. But as soon as we prepare the strategy for moving forward, it must include turnout as well as persuading that small group who haven't, of independents or small R's, small D's, who haven't completely committed one way or the other to roll with our team. I'm impressed. I'm impressed because Kamala Harris is impressed.
Well,
And I
it's
trust her.
interesting. But it's interesting that you would say that, he knows his role. Why do you think that's so important now?
Well, I think Kamala brought that flavor, brought that strength. We're flowing with it now. And he just needs to stay out of the way in terms of saying the wrong things or being his business being front page as opposed to the business of Kamala Harris, the presidential candidate. And his they're not quirky, we'll call them folksy sayings with an edge. They're just enough. Sometimes he's taking and echoing what she's saying, but he's doing it in a way that's going to reach a whole different segment of the population. And I think that's his role, is a message to those that she can't necessarily reach. And he did a good job yesterday. I'm of the mind now that most of the time I'm trying to call folks weird every chance I get.
You know what? I'm going to go around. We only have about 5 or 6 minutes left. Boy, I just love speaking with you all this morning. And please send those prayers to Dwight. I'm going to get an email address for him. Well, you know what? Send emails to Santita Jackson and Friends at gmail.com. And I'm going to get them over to him. How about that? But Ariel and Josh and Mark Fancher, you got an email. Josh and Ariel, you got a text. So boom, you got it. But I want to go around and get closing thoughts from everybody. Tomorrow, I want you all to come back because I want us to talk about Cori Bush. Well, you know what? The upside is this, Ariel. Now we know how to fight. Okay? And she said, I'm unleashed. I mean, we don't know what's been unleashed. I think there's a lot of good stuff here. because number one, it's bringing us together. I didn't know Josh 6 months ago. I knew of you, Ariel, but I mean, you're my sister. He's my Locks and Ham Hocks brother. I know that drives him nuts. Drives him nuts. I know it's not kosher. I know that.
It's not. It's haram. It's
No,
not.
no, I know. No,
It's not halal. It's
I know it's not. I know it's not, but it's so good. It ain't bad. So I mean, what? It's America. We mix it all. So,
you keep saying it, but I'm going to keep reacting. I'm going to keep cringing as you say it.
And it's totally gross because I'm grossing out my mother. She's not even here right now, so that's okay. But I want to get clothing thoughts from because my mother. I have to go to a place to get her locks and her capers and her bagels because my mother loves that. You know, I mean, and that's just a very real thing. So, Josh, 1 minute, your closing thought.
To address the idea about anti-Semitism with Shapiro, the fact of the matter is those who would not vote for a Harris Shapiro ticket are the same people that would say, I'm giving my vote to Jill Stein because Jill Stein speaks for me. So that just puts to bed the idea about it's a anti-Semitic issue. It is not. People that would not vote for Shapiro would vote for Stein. End of story. Moving on to seeing Waltz, I do think, and Mark, thank you very much for pointing out. It gave me a sense of hope and also a sense of progress, no pun intended, that all the work we've done, even though primaries last night didn't come in the way we want, I have to step back and say, oh yeah, Waltz is a result of the work we've done in Uncommitted and having all these down ballot candidates run and getting the word out there. And so Waltz is a result of that. So yeah, we are making progress. What I like about Waltz also is that there are, when it comes to people who are close to me who are Zionists, where we agree on everything else but this, they're like, yeah, Waltz seems good. And I like the fact that that Waltz can actually bring us together in terms of a cohesive way to keep things, I don't know, I guess the word, what's the word, where it's, like you said, where we're not at each other's throats, where we can actually discuss and actually come to conclusions together that are rational and reasonable. So I'm pleased to see Waltz on the ticket for all those reasons. Thank you. It's good to be here this morning. Cheers.
Always, you know, I mean, because that's what coaches do. They bring all these disparate pieces together and they come up with something, unless you're with the Chicago White Sox, but I'll leave that alone. I'm like, they're losing every. I had to get that out. I'm like, are you for real, you guys? Don't laugh, Tennessee State Representative G.A. Hardaway. What's your comment? This is pitiful.
Well, the first thing I want to address is Israel. I didn't get a chance to speak on that. I consider myself to be a common sense Democrat. I don't like the other labels. I'm not radical or super liberal. I'm a common sense Democrat. And I believe in a two-state solution. And that's one of the reasons that I look for leadership in D.C. to do the same. I know we can't backtrack and go back in time and start at any other point in history. We got to start where we are now. Two-state solution. I think that Hamas is a terrorist organization, and their terrorism hits not merely Israel, but also the Palestinian people and the rest of the world if they get a chance. Hamas must be eliminated. I don't want anyone to think that I mean anything other than Hamas is a terrorist organization. I do not believe that their actions and their words represent the will of the people of Palestine. And that's who I stand with, people. And coming back to our brand new pair of winners, I'll reiterate, as long as Waltz can just stay out of the way and complement and supplement by his resume filling in the weaker spots. I don't think there are any weak spots in President to be Kamala Harris, but I think that there are some areas where he can make it better. And I think there are some areas where he can make what we already recognize as her strengths. He can help those shine in the messaging. And he's got that appeal. we often analyze candidates in terms of three things. What's your party affiliation? What's your platform? But the one thing that's most likely to sway a voter: do we like you? Are you a likable guy? And he is that guy. He's like that old affable uncle that's going to give you old folksy and crack you up saying every now and then. But he's got that common sense. So you'll run to him when you have a problem and want his advice.
And really, that's what it comes down to, everybody. Because my father said, do not underestimate. He said, being liked is important. Being trusted is everything. Everybody is number one. I literally have like inside of a minute for you and for Mark. So Mark Fancher, and then Ariel, you're going to take us out. Pressure.
No, I'll be quick. I'm a common sense revolutionary, and I would really caution everyone to remember that Harris and Walz are not messiahs. They're going to break your hearts. They've received the endorsement and the approval of the establishment, the people who have the power, and their job is not to carry out the will of the people. And so I think that if we really want change, we have to remain focused, we have to remain engaged and remain active, and pursuing an agenda that is independent of what the process and the system allows for us to engage in. That's the only way we're going to achieve change. The system is not geared to allow us to achieve what we want to achieve.
1 minute for you, Ariel. People power.
I'm going to talk about what we haven't talked about here yet, which is being a woman. And, when we talk about how Walz has to stand back and let her do her job, I run an organization as a woman. Santita, my sister, I know you know what I'm talking about when men try the challenges of being a strong woman leader. Your mom, so much respect to her. And we haven't talked about the way that needed and did play into the decision. And yes, she needs that. And let's not forget that she's the first woman vice president. And we will see, whether it's establishment, we will see many men try to make decisions for her, including yesterday on who was going to be her running mate. And I'm a common sense feminist, and I am damn excited to have her electing her. And I love the supportive role that her husband plays and that Walz is playing.
No, that part. And you know what? Maybe we can have a follow-up about that tomorrow, because she has special challenges as a woman in leadership. And I don't ever want to go past the challenges of sexism. I'll leave you with this. Shirley Chisholm, who was a close family friend, said, I thought that my highest hurdle would be racism. But the biggest impediment for me was sexism.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about that tomorrow, because these incoming attacks that I see on her decision making, she giggles. Oh. Because she doesn't lead with a bat. I mean,
she didn't pick the right.
Let me get out of here. Stay right there. Santita Jackson Show. I love you.